And
sorry.
Here we are.
So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you all. Warmly welcome to join the 24-hour Global Digital Marathon on Sustainability. This big event is jointly organized by FAO and the Future Food Institute on the occasion of the 51st anniversary of the World Earth Day. The event is composed of 34 sessions, organized successively in different countries across the globe. It's indeed my great honor and privilege to moderate the China session. In fact, the China session is the 5th one of the whole events around the world. My name is Dongxin Feng, working as a program coordinator in the joint FAO AAE Center based in Vienna. Warmly welcome you again to join the China session. As you know, the theme of the session is on sustainability, food for Earth. The China session, the topic of the China session will focus on biodiversity, food waste, and food systems transformation. In the first session, in the first part of the session, the highest representatives of the co-organizers of the event, Dr. Qu Dongyu, Director General of FAO, and Ms. Sarah Ravasi, founder and president of the Future Food Institute, will deliver their introductory remarks. After that, 3 well-known speakers from China will speak on sustainability from different perspectives based on the topics of the China session. So now, with further ado, let's invite Dr. Qu Dongyu, Director General of FAO, to deliver his opening remarks. Dr. General, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Feng, Dongxin. Dear colleagues and friends, ladies and gentlemen, good morning from Rome. I'm pleased to be with you today at the Chinese session of 24 hours global marathon for sustainability being held on the 51st anniversary of Earth Day. Sustainability is the fundamental concept and a cross-cutting theme throughout FAO's activities and interventions and initiatives. Because feeding the world requires a more productive agricultural sector and to be more efficient. That should be and must be sustainable. But keeping the agricultural and rural development sustainable is far more academic exercises. It requires a viable design with the practical and concrete measures. In that context, let me share 4 crucial elements with you today. First, adequate enabling policy for production, processing, trade, and investment. Second, more investment in rural areas, like improve agro-environment in the villages, the infrastructure on road, broadband, cold chain systems, and accessibility to markets. Third, a strong push for innovation and science, including social, institutional, financial, and technological innovations to produce new varieties on biotechnology and on traditional breeding, and to use other innovative products, bioproducts like biofertilizer and biopesticide and non-polluted chemicals, and so on. Fourth, partnerships and new business models to maintain trade flow and sustainable supply of food across the region, strengthen the related cooperations. Let me also stress that the real sustainability is not a modern concept, but rather sharing in the practice and the heritage of our ancestors. For thousands of years, farmers have worked in harmony with the nature and show motherland and Mother Earth respect and reverence. Ladies and gentlemen, we are at a critical moment in the time. The number of hungry people in the world has increased consistently during the last 6 years, an increase of 10 million in 2019 and nearly 69 million in the 5 years before that. It is estimated that by the end of 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic added another 132 million to the number of hungry people in the world. Child stunting remains unacceptably high, and overweight obesity continue to increase in the rich and poor cities, and especially in the urban areas. More than 3 billion people in the world cannot afford even the cheapest healthy diets. Current consumption pattern and existing agri-food systems are contributing to the disturbingly high rate of food loss and waste, air pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, the loss of biodiversity, and constitute a growing source of inequality. This is generating severe human, economic, and environmental costs. We urgently need to do things different and act holistically to transform our agri-food systems, because soon the table will need to be set for 10 billion people on this small planet. So we have to create a new solution, find a smarter way to produce more with less inputs, while keeping in mind that there is no healthy food without a healthy environment. That is why FAO new strategy framework focuses on the transformation to more efficient, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agri-food systems for better production, better nutrition, a better environment, a better life, leaving no one behind. These four betters represent a guiding principle and an innovative business model for how FAO intends to contribute to SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 2, zero hunger, and SDG 10, reducing inequalities, as well as to supporting the achievement of a broad SDGs agenda. The four betters also reflect the interconnected economic, social, environmental dimensions of agri-food systems. Ladies and gentlemen, the state of the world biodiversity for food and agriculture clearly demonstrated that biodiversity is the essence of sustainable agri-food systems. It is essential for food security, food diversity. It is enhanced in resilience of rural communities, underpins health and nutritious diet, and improve rural livelihoods. A key challenge is to meet the growing demand for good food, feed, and fuel, while conserving biodiversity reduces the pressure on the natural resources and ecosystems. Here again, developing policy, legal framework, strengthening institutions, and building human capacity is essential. At FAO, we are driving this through our FAO strategy on mainstreaming biodiversity across agricultural sectors and in our roles as a biodiversity mainstreaming platform. We recognize the importance of promoting use of biodiversity-friendly management practice in crop, livestock, production, forestry, fishery, and aquaculture. This included the traditional management practice in situ associated with local and indigenous knowledge. Another topic of global importance is food loss and waste, which has an important impact on food security and sustainability. Let me be clear. We cannot afford food loss and waste in these globally challenging times. The COVID-19 pandemic is also a wake-up call to rethinking the way in which we produce, handle, and consume our foods. Producing food losses and waste provide a powerful means to strengthen our agri-food systems and support sustainability. Innovative business model to stop food loss and waste need to be shared with the participation of the private sector and the new approaches to financial there. FAO is supporting its members to moving from the advocacy to effective action and accountability. We support the formulation of policies and laws to reduce food loss and waste. We cooperate with a wide range of partners to improve the practice and apply innovations, and we support the efforts to transform consumers' attitude, behavior, consumption preference, and habits as they are key to the solutions. I always say consumers is a real fundamental driving force for a change of business and change the way of the consumption pattern. Addressing food waste is also moral issues as appreciated food reflecting a level of civilization and culture and responsibility at large. I invite you to visit the FAO website for relevant data and information to explore the technical platform on the measurement and the reduction of food loss and waste, and to join the digital community of practice. We should walk the talk. We should be all the food savers for the people, for this planet, for the generations to come. Ladies and gentlemen, according to the World Bank International Poverty Lines, China has contributed to over 70% of the world population reduction, meeting the poverty eradication target set out in the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goals 10 years ahead of the schedule. I congratulate the Chinese government and people on fulfilling this arduous task of eradicating extreme poverty by the end of 2020. With its richer biodiversity and also food diversity. Its 10,000 years of agricultural history of the concrete step taken at all levels of governance and society to confront the food waste, China is an example to follow. Because when you're saving the food, it's much easier than you produce food with all the inputs. China has made great progress in developing its food and agriculture sectors and has a wealth of experience and knowledge to share with the world. I'm proud to say that the FAO China South-South Cooperation Program is a pillar of a global exchange. We thank China for its continuous generous support. And also we want to encourage all other donors and agencies to be a part of the Triangle Cooperation. The inclusion of the developing green economy as one of the key strategic priorities during the 14th 5-year plan of National Economic Social Development 2021 to 2025 period is of a great importance. I believe that the sustainable agricultural development and addressing food waste is surely become the key contributor in the EDUR. As China trusted partner, FAO will continue to provide policy advice and technical assistance on a wide range of topics, including food safety, sustainable management of agricultural resources, as well as surveillance and control of transborder animal and plant disease and pests. I always say that China-FAO relationship should be in China, for China, and from China for the rest of the world. Dear colleagues, selecting biodiversity and food waste as a main thematic area for the Chinese session of this marathon are both timely and relevant. I look forward to listening to the speakers from Chinese academia. A lot of friends I know them personally. I think you have to be a real energetic powerhouse to push all the interface between the policy, academy, and the industry, entrepreneurship, and the civil society. Work together as a joint force, and then we can share your perspectives and experience on the biodiversity, food waste, and agro-food system transformation. I wish 24 hours global marathon on sustainability and great successful. Together, we can make it bigger. Let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Director General, for your always inspiring and insightful remarks. So thank you for reminding us the key elements for sustainability, including science innovation, enabling policy, and investment to rural area, and others, for example, new models you highlighted. So, and also you call us to do things differently and holistically. And also you highlighted the importance of better biodiversity, reduction of food waste, and sustainability. And you emphasize what FAO has been done in terms of take the lead to achieve the SDGs, to assist members to achieve the SDGs. Most importantly, you underlined the food systems transformation is at the center of the new FAO strategic framework, contributing to the four betters, better production, better nutrition, better environment, and better life. And also, at the end of your presentation, you valued the contribution of China in fighting hunger and eliminating the food insecurity and malnutrition, including the role of the FAO China South-South Cooperation Program. Thank you, DG, again. And now let's turn to Ms. Sarah Rawasi, founder and president of the Future Food Institute. Sarah, please take the floor. Thank you.
Xie. I'm super glad to be with you. It's really a pleasure. Director General, thank you for your inspiring word. And I have to say thank you for what FAO is doing. I'm very, very, very proud that our organization is jointly working with FAO since several years, really to empower people and spread knowledge around the world. Because if we want to accelerate this transition that is needed, as you were saying, we need really to implement the SDG number 17 and join forces between public sector, private sector, young innovators, scientists, academics. Everyone should take this responsibility. So today, I'm really proud to lead this organization of the marathon together with FAO, because we will have the opportunity not only to connect the voices of people that are working every single day within the food system, really to implement those innovations that are needed, but also we are going to connect people that are doing actions on the ground. We started this morning very early from Australia, and then we started connecting scientists all over Asia. Then we're going to go to explore the Mediterranean area, Europe and Africa, and then the Americas. We are talking with indigenous community. We are going to talk with ministers from all over the world. Youth, because also this summer, I know in Rome, we are going to host a lot of youth that are really pushing forward this transition that is needed. And today we're going to talk about the connection between food and earth. Food for Earth, actually, has been a project that we started together with FAO, with the FAO E-Learning Academy. And now I want to just take a few minutes because I think that the world needs to know the work that FAO is doing. This is what inspired me to invest all our energies to support what FAO is doing. The FAO E-Learning Academy is a huge source of knowledge, available, accessible, for free, for everyone in the world. And if we want to move towards the transition that is needed, we need to educate people, empower people, and spread knowledge around the world. So joining forces with the FAO, we started developing this concept of Food for Earth. Food for Earth is, let's say, a framework where we are analyzing the SDGs under the concept of integral ecology. As DG was saying before, everything is interconnected. When we talk about ecology, we're talking about the political ecology, the economical ecology. We're talking about the ecological aspects, but also about human and the social aspects. So we strongly believe that we need to help the world to understand the complexity behind the food system, because what we are facing now is a climate crisis, but also is a very strong and deep social crisis. So this is what we are doing. And we strongly believe that the priorities, as the DG was saying, are pretty clear. We need now to protect biodiversity. And our countries, I'm saying our countries because, as you know, I'm an Italian. I'm broadcasting now from Pollica, who's the capital of the Mediterranean diet, the UNESCO capital of the Mediterranean diet. Not by chance we decided to broadcast from here. This is a symbol for us because, as the DG was saying, implementing sustainable development, sustainable lifestyle, this is one of the crucial aspects. So empowering people to understand how to eat in a sustainable way, but also protecting biodiversity. And we are embedded now in the natural park of Cilento, that is protecting the biggest variety of biodiversity in Europe. So again, we want to show that there are places where we are protecting biodiversities. And also, we need to tackle the food and loss issue. Food and loss is another critical issue. Makes no sense. This is a huge paradox. 1/3 of the food produced goes wasted. And now industries are working. There are industries that are implementing amazing strategies, saving food losses, but also people during the pandemic have been more focused on what they are wasting. And finally, they are moving towards this change. I want to remember that September 29th is going to be another important day because FAO is celebrating the World Day of Awareness about food loss and waste. And this is a critical issue that we're going to support for sure. Last but not least, moving this transition towards more sustainable practices in fisheries, in agriculture, because world resources are not endless. So we need to care about the resources that are available. Now, I want to leave the stage to all our super distinguished guests from China. And I want to invite you in the new campus that we are going to open. That is the campus that is already hosting the boot camps that FAO is running with our institute, because we are training food and climate shapers. And the campus is here in Pollica. So I want to welcome all of you to come and visit us and get to know the Fao E-Learning Academy. And thank you so much for the incredible work your organization is doing, because everything starts from food.
Thank you so very much, Sarah, for your encouraging remarks. I know that you highlighted the importance of all the elements related to the China session, including biodiversity, food loss and waste, and the food systems. And also you underlined the SDG 17 partnerships. So you valued a lot of the FAO partnerships with the Future Food Institute. Especially the partnerships with the E-Learning Academy to advocate the issues facing the food and agriculture. Thank you again, Sarah. So I believe that the introductory remarks did by Dr. Qidongyu and Sarah have set the stage so vividly for us to move to the next session. So with this, it's really my pleasure to invite the first speaker from China. So our first speaker is Dr. Shenggen Fan. He is the Dean of the Academy of the Global Food Economics and Policy from the China Agricultural University. I believe that many of us know him from when he worked in the IFPRI as the former Director General. So the topic of Shenggen will focus on food systems transformation. Shenggen, the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Dongxin, and greetings to Dr. Chu, FAO DG, and Sarah. I think it's so great that the Future Food Institute and FAO are co-organizing this marathon for Earth for Food. So I'm going to talk about food system transformation. So the food system is defined from every elements, actors, players in the whole value chain of different kinds of food, from inputs to production, technology, processing, harvesting, retailing, wholesaling, consumption, health, nutrition, and health. But it also includes the externalities of the food system, like natural resources, climate change, and health, nutrition and health. So the food system is much broader than the food value chain. So our current food system is not sustainable. It does not produce adequate, healthy diets for everybody in the world. So we need to transform our food system. Here in China, we are facing similar challenges: the natural resource degradation, water pollution, and in the meantime, the different forms of malnutrition. So China has succeeded in eliminating malnutrition, undernutrition, undernourishment, like zero hunger, as well as poverty. So by 2020, the poverty is eliminated. When poverty is eliminated, so hunger, by definition, is also being eliminated. However, there are certain forms of malnutrition, particularly hidden hunger, lack of micronutrients, and overweight obesity is rising. Natural resource degradation continue to haunt us here in China. But the good news is the Chinese government has made lots of commitments. On the health side, Health China 2030. On the natural resource management side, the red line of the land production, 1.8 billion mu of land will be protected, and to guarantee the 600 million tons of grain production and carbon neutrality by 2060. So President Xi Jinping made that commitment, and that commitment really inspired the whole world to make sure that we work together to tackle some of the challenges we all face. So to move forward, here for China, as well as for other countries, we needed to transform 4 things in order to transform our food system. Number 1 is to transform our governance. So our governance now is structured vertically: food, agriculture, environment, health, and so on. So they are in silo. If you wanted to tackle the food system challenges, you needed to bring the governance of the whole food system together. So can we create a coordination mechanisms at the Prime Minister's office or President's office to coordinate food, agriculture, water, land, nutrition, climate change, and so on? So transforming the governance. Second is to transform the technologies. I think right now our technology only has maybe one objective, for example, enhancing yield or protecting natural resources or improving nutrition. But we wanted to make sure that our future technology will have multiple wins. Win on yield, win on nutrition, win on the climate resilience, and win on saving water and land, or win on, let's say, zero carbon or reducing carbon emissions. So multiple wins. So we needed to evaluate our technology in the future to make sure that they satisfy all these criteria. So the trade-offs are not going to work. So number 3 is to transform policy. So right now, we are spending $700 billion in subsidizing production, agricultural production. So these subsidies do not produce healthy, nutritious foods. They also overuse natural resources like water and land. So we need to reform them. We need to repurpose them to use that money to promote multiple wind technologies I have already mentioned, to promote the production of healthy, nutritious, and sustainable foods, and the value chain development. So that policy must be transformed. So number 4 is to transform the international collaboration. I think right now the global system is still very much dominated by the northern countries. I think the voice of emerging economies, China, India, Brazil, needs to be further lifted. The South-South cooperation, Belt and Road initiatives to really increase the voice of the emerging economies, transition economies, to make sure that we can all work together. So finally, as economists, I also think the economists needs to embrace the food system approach. So I wanted to be a bit critical to my fellow economists. So right now, they have not embraced the externalities of the food production. So they have not, let's say, analyzed the benefit and the cost of the food system transformation instruments, technologies, and policies. They have not used the political economy approach to analyze why certain policies have not been implemented in transforming the food system. And the economists should also use the methods, for example, modeling, econometrics, to help to guide the food system transformation. So I think finally, we all have to change our behavior. So when we eat our next meal, let's make sure that we not only consider our nutrition and health, but also environment. Coming back to our diets, here in China, in my own province, in Jiangsu, we have this so-called Huaiyang or Southern Chinese diet. You know, enough elderly live up to 100 years old, but they eat rice, seafoods, vegetables, fruits. They do not consume much red meat. They do not consume even milk, but they can live very long. So we needed to find our healthy nutritious diet for ourselves, similar to Mediterranean diet, maybe even better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shengen, for your impactful presentation. So you, in your presentation, a lot of very interesting points raised in your presentation, including the progress made in China in food systems transformation and the key challenges for this transformation. Most importantly, your insightful recommendations in terms of the food systems transformation in China is so meaningful. There's no doubt that the experience and the lessons learned in China in terms of the food systems transformation is of great importance at the global level. Thank you again, Shengen. So biodiversity and reduction of food waste are most related to food systems transformation. So with this, let's move to the next part of the presentations. So the next speaker is Dr. and Professor Qingwen Yang. He is from the Institute of Crop Science of the Chinese Academy of Agricultural Sciences, CAAS. So Qingwen, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Dongxin. I will share the screen. Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Following, I will introduce agrobiodiversity conservation in China. I will give the presentation as the following 4 parts. The first part is current status. China is recognized to be the megadiversity country and with 5,000 years civilization. And it is also one of the 8 origin centers of crops and 3 origin centers of agriculture in the world. The long history for agricultural production made China with a very abundant agrobiodiversity at the ecosystem, species, and genetic levels. Sorry. There are more than 1,300 species of cultivated crops and 1,900 species of wild relatives of crops. It is estimated that there are about 1 million accessions of crops. The livestock and aquatic resources, the resources also are very abundant. Next, we'll introduce the progress in China. Generally, conservation of agrobiodiversity in China began from 1950s when Chinese government organized the collection and the conservation of genetic resources of crops and livestock. Since then, many laws and regulations have been issued. For example, the seed law, the agriculture law, etc. The Ministry of Agriculture also issued the action plan for agrobiodiversity conservation in 1993. Agrobiodiversity conservation in China also includes 3 levels: ecosystem, species, and genetic levels. Generally, at the ecosystem level, the conservation activities mainly combined with agricultural development, not purely on conservation. The conservation of species and the genetic resources are also combined together. The achievements of agrobiodiversity conservation at present, there are more than 520,000 accessions of crops and 585,000 accessions of livestock and 650,000 accessions of aquatic varieties were conserved. Because I'm working on crops, so next I will mainly focus on the crop genetic resources. And for the connection and actions of crop genetic resources, there are 3 rounds of collections. The first round was taken in 1950s. The second round was taken in 1980s. The third round is from 2015. Now it is still ongoing. The in-situ conservation in gene banks. At present, China has already constructed 1 long-term, 1 copied, and 10 mid-term gene banks at the national level, and also constructed 15 mid-term gene banks at the provincial level. Total 440,000 accessions of genetic resources have been preserved, and generally, the cereal seeds can be preserved for more than 50 years, and the oil seeds can be also preserved for about 30 years. For in situ conservation in field gene banks, there are 43 field gene banks at the national level established for preserving vegetative crops. More than 80,000 accessions have been preserved. For the in-situ conservation, we mainly focus on wild relatives of crops. There are 2 approaches. The first is a physical isolation approach, and the mainstreaming approach. From 2001 to 2020, 217 in-situ conservation sites have been established, which covered 56 species. The physical isolation approach, we tried using the 3 kinds of isolation facilities: the solid fences, and the brick walls, and also plant fences. The 3 kinds of methods have their advantages and disadvantages, and all of them have the main problem because. For example, the isolation facilities should be repaired and maintained annually, and the target species might lack of competition ability with other species. Therefore, we tried another approach. It's called the mainstreaming approach. This we tried this approach, sponsored by Jeff. We selected 3 species of wild relatives of crops: wild rice, wild soybean, and wild wheat. For example, in Yunnan, we tried to conservation wild rice. We selected one site. In this area, the wild rice had the wild rice faced very dangerous threats. And for the project, we made the incentive mechanism. It's called the establishment of incentive mechanism oriented by eradicating threat factors. We also made the strategy, including policy and regulation, alternative livelihood, financial incentive, and raising awareness. we thought it is very important to do alternative livelihood for farmers to improve their livelihood and their awareness. So we helped farmers to construct the roads and the irrigation facilities, and also help farmers to plant economic crops instead of only rice. And we also help them to construct feeding facilities to make farmers to get more income. The capacity building, we carried out propagation, training, and education, especially for young people. After several years implementation in this area, the farmers' income has increased from about 2,000 RMB in 2007 and to about 9,000 RMB in 2018. The young people had better education. For example, there was no college student before 2007, but there were 9 college students in 2018. More importantly, the wild rice here growing better. So the effectiveness of the project is very good. Finally, I will give some suggestions for the future. First, we'd like to continue to conduct and execute conservation more directed resources to avoid the disappearing in the world. And research and application of the combination of both approaches of in-situ conservation with a sustainable way. And finally, to strengthen the management of agrobiodiversity with more applicable legislation, more criteria, and more techniques to ensure conservation sustainability. This is my report. Thank you very much.
Made in China in the plant or crop genetics conservation is very impressive, and thank you for reminding us the policy and the capacity, the importance of those areas in the biodiversity conservation. Thanks again, Qingwen. Let's move to the next speaker, the Professor and Dr. Shenghui Chen from the Institute of Geographic Science and Natural Resources Research of the China Academy of Sciences, CAS. The floor is yours, Shenghui. So
thank you.
Please keep your presentation within 7 minutes, if possible. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Dongxin. Hello, everybody here. It's so nice for me to participate in this very great marathons action by the FAO and FFI. So for the agenda of the Chinese sessions, we focused on the food waste and the food loss. So they are just mentioned by the DG and Sarah. So the food loss and food waste, I think that's very important issues for the sustainable development of the food systems. So when we're talking about the food loss and food waste in China. So I think that's very critical issues for the big countries. So but the elements or components of the food loss and food waste in China is very different from the Western developing countries. This is a very simple, simply comparison with EU. In China, the food waste and food loss occurred mainly in catering, and also the in EU, European, the household food waste is very serious problems. And also the household in China is very little. Another comparison is between China and the US. The elements of the food loss and food waste. In China, the data is something different with the USA, but in China, the serious waste or lost and vegetable waste and lost is very big. Also in the meats, but on the US, the dairy waste and lost is very important issues. So the another critical data for to describe the food waste and loss in China. The first is our team's work that's shown is about around 70 to 18 million tons of the food was wasted every year. And another figures data is about Chinese household food waste is very little. And on the total food waste and the lost in China, the another research result shows that over 120 million tons of the food is waste. This in a consumption stage. And another work is our teams by the food system study. See, that result shows about 27% of the China's total food produced was lost and waste from the during 2014 and 2018. In a category food waste and lost. So the business banquet, social dining, and also the events related consumptions is among the top areas on the food waste. I think that's very special in China. And also the students, the food waste occurred in a school, universities is very big issues that which has been overlooked for a long time. So recent years, there are so many scientists involved in these areas. And for the reasons is very complicated. So you know the Chinese have a long history cultures of the food. So the food waste and lost something is very close related to our culture, particularly in the fish. We call them the fish culture. That's very big reasons. And also the university contains restaurants, household. They do many work, but this something constrained. For the progress, I think that's very big progress in China. So the President Xi Jinping in recent years firmly called for the seafood and opposing waste. On the other hand, the National People's Congress last year, they are drafting the anti-food waste law of the People's Republic of China, hopefully be enacted in these years. I think that's very important. And also the under this direction, the many ministry, local government, and industrial association involved in this action. For the research, I think the systematic research is very important for us to describe the different stage and the different lost and different waste. That's very important for the scientific work. This is our works. We do this work from the production to consumption, the different stage. How about the loss and waste? That's the image. And also the progressive media, I think very important in China. Recently years, the medium give their great efforts to this. I'm very pleased to involve in these programs. And also the social society participation, I think very important. Restaurants, canteen, hotels, communities, they do their works for reducing the food waste and promoting sustainable lifestyles. And also the under these all respectful efforts, so in China, the people's awareness and the knowledge, for example, the food resources, how to reduce the food waste, how to build the very civil lives there, that's very increased very dramatically. About the practice action, I think that's very important. In different places, local governments, they do their very good works. For example, in Beijing, the campaign, and that's mean clear your plate, mean empty your plate, and also the rules, caterings, punishments, and also the N+1, N+2 orderings. So that's very different actions, which is very effective. And for the totally for the China, I think we do it from different aspects to give their efforts from the science and the technology, the restaurant, the canteen, different media institutions. That's the systematic approach is very important. So for the Chinese experience for FAO, the suggestions and recommendations, I think the four aspects are very important. First, in the systematic research, they ask the scientists to provide a very data to support the policymakers, and also the dissemination of the science awareness. That's very important. Policies and legislation, I think now is starting in China, I think, which is very, very important to reduce the food waste, and also the participation of the public. I think that's very important. Also the supervision. If we can see the Chinese experience, I think the four aspects is very important for the next step to reduce food and loss. Thank you.
So to address food insecurity and malnutrition. Thank you very much again for your very insightful presentation. And there's no doubt that the experience from China is of very meaningful to the other countries. Thank you very much again. Before I hand over to Ms. Sarah Savasi to close the session, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our DG Director General, Ms. Qi Rongyu, and Sarah for their great support to this event, especially for the China session. And also, I want to thank all the speakers. Thank you so very much for your great contribution and insightful ideas and suggestions in terms of the biodiversity, induction of food reduction, and food systems transformation. So with further ado, in terms of the time limitation, let me just hand over the floor to Sarah to conclude the session. Sarah, the floor is yours. Sarah? So in fact, Sarah, DG has left because he has another urgent commitment. So the floor is yours for concluding the
Thank
China
you
session.
so much. Thank you so much. We are very, very glad to have been with you in China and highlighting how much science can advance the move that we need to approach this decade of action, a decade of action to achieve the SDGs of the Agenda 2030 of the United Nations.